All right, y'all. Welcome back and happy Saturday. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and we're your host, Bull and P. Today, we're going to be talking about Tennessee's offense in 2025 and where we think is going to be better or worse at versus 2024. Please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And also, this is going to be episode 2 for our Patreon podcast. All y'all can follow along with us there for free. Patreon.com/Blue Chip Breakdown. All right, Pete, right here with Legend Bay because he's going to be choosing tonight. Okay. This is his top 5. And he's a 4-star athlete. He is from the state of Texas. He just got phone boned to Tennessee. So feeling good about it. You know what I mean? I'm going to be picking later on, huge ad as far as wide receivers go. But P, one of the things, for me with Legend Bay is that, he's listed at, I think, like a shade up under 6 feet tall. So shorter wide receiver. What this tells me is that Tennessee's targeting these shorter guys, like we keep on talking about. There's no real big, tall, 6'3", 6'4" guy, 6'5" guy that's can run really fast, like what we typically see. It tells me that we're changing some things with those routes, with our scheme. And I think that that's positive. Also, looking at Tennessee's offensive line, we're getting in some shorter guys there too, which leads me to think that we might be going after some shorter quarterbacks in the future too. But what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't make that correlation. We do have a good amount of shorter receivers coming in, and didn't really think much of it. But that could have to do with the scheme change, which I think that could be a positive thing. I think you put a lot of speed out there. You get guys in space. You give them the ball quick. It can be a matchup problem for safeties and linebackers. So I like it a lot. I think it's a good idea. It's a good move. Now, obviously in the SEC, the number one thing you want to be able to do is you want to be able to control the line of scrimmage. So as long as our offensive linemen, if they're shorter, that's fine. But as long as they can hold up in pass protection and get good movement in run game, that's to me, that's a win-win. Now, I also say this too about Legend Bay. I think I
Mhm.
saw he's listed as like 5'9", 5'9", 5'10". But
Wow.
when you watch his film, he looks way bigger than that. He looks like he's probably like, if I just watching his film, if I had to guess, I'd say he's probably about 6 feet. I say
Mhm.
like 190, 200 pounds. Like he looks way bigger than what he's listed as. So I'm curious to see what he actually is.
Mhm.
Because I think he's bigger than what they're saying. You know what I mean? Now I saw
Yeah.
him next to Coach Heupel, so he is a good bit shorter than him, but I
Mhm.
don't think he's 5'9". You know?
Yeah, I don't think he is either. I think that on one of the sites they had him verified at like 5'10" or something like
Mhm.
that. So he's a shorter guy. I mean, typically Tennessee's wideouts are 6'2" plus, really 6'3" plus. You know what I'm saying? Like we rarely ever bring in those short guys, but that's pretty much all that we're bringing in right now. I mean, even if we was to add Tristan Keys, he's about 6'3". He would be by far the tallest guy that we're going to add to this 2026 class. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the stats. And Pete, are we on the same page that it's probably going to be Joey getting the start here?
Oh, absolutely. Unless he just can't figure out the offense and just looks awful. Yeah, I think Joey's the guy for sure.
All right, so we got that out the way moving forward. Now let's take a look at these stats. This is what Tennessee did last season, right? Y'all can see the rankings to the left, and y'all can see the like average yards per game, and whatever the average stats per game is going to be on y'all's far right. So total offense, we ended up at number 15. I think prior to this, we were definitely top 10. I mean, typically like top 5 with the total offense. So where do you think Tennessee's going to be at? And actually, let me finish. Scoring offense, Tennessee's ranked number 13, right? So Tennessee was typically, like top 3 in that category too. But what do you think Tennessee maybe is going to be better or worse at with the total and scoring offense next year?
I think we'll be better in both categories, honestly. I think you look at our
Really?
pass game. We didn't really do a great job passing the ball last year. Now we did a really good job running the ball, but I think the drop off from our yards per game rushing, I don't think it's going to be that great compared to I think how much better we'll be passing. Like I think we'll look at these quarterbacks, whether it's Merklinger, whether it's Aguilar, whether it's GMAC or GMAC, whoever it is. You know, I think they're gonna average like we're gonna be kind of shocked if we see them throwing for less than like like 250 in a game. You know what I mean? Like I think 250 is kind of their floor. Where I think Nico had a lot of games where he was like under 200 yards. So I just think we're just gonna average more yards, man. We're gonna average more yards, score more points. I think the offense will be better in 2025.
All right. So yeah, I mean that definitely sounds good to me. So looking forward, okay, looking at the rest of this list, Um, what about passing offense? Because Tennessee's passing offense, it was ranked 77th last year. That's where we were the absolute worst at. And we're just not used to Tennessee operating on such a low level with our passing game. So we'll talk more about how the scheme's going to change. But we were at 221 yards through the air per game. And then, obviously that's going to correlate to the sacks. Tennessee was 87th in sacks given up last season. We gave up about 2.3 sacks per game. So what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think it's going to be better or do you think it's going to be worse? Which, you just kind of said that you feel like Tennessee's passing game will take that step forward. But tell me more about why you think that is going to happen.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing you hope we can be more consistent with hitting deep balls down the field. Like, I mean, I'd say every game last year we probably had at least one deep ball we missed. So what'd you say? That's probably about 50 yards, 50-yard deep ball. So we add 50 yards to that yards per game total. 221 goes to what, like 270, something like that. So just right there, by hitting that one deep ball per game, we're adding like 50 yards to our per game average. So I think Joey Aguilar is much more consistent on that deep ball than Nico was. Now the key to it's going to be, can he come in here and build rapport for his receivers and get on the same page, learn the offense and all that stuff. I think the O line, similar thing. They have all the potential and talent in the world, but it's a new group playing together. So we know this line takes some time to get that cohesion. But if they can be cohesive early in the season, I think the O line is going to take a step forward. We'll have more time to throw. And then we talk about the scheme. Getting some shorter routes, some easier concepts, some more diverse concepts, some crossers, things like that. Pick
Mhm.
plays, routes, all that stuff, more pre-snap motions, things like that. I think guys will be open, and the offense I think will be better than it was last year.
All right, so I'm happy that you talked about the offensive line because that's where we're going to go next. So these are the numbers from Tennessee's offensive line last year, and y'all can see to the far right, it's in a very, very light blue, but it's highlighted. That's the pressure rate that all these offensive linemen gave up last year. You can see that and it's ranked from the highest pressure rates to the lowest pressure rates. So our two tackles, John Campbell, Lance Hurd, they gave up the highest pressures, and then Dylan Sampson, he's up there too, but I think Tennessee's probably not going to use our running backs as much with the pass pro. Like, let them run some freaking routes because they're not that good at blocking folks. Typically, Tennessee's had some smaller backs, so it's harder for those guys to pick up those huge linebackers, those huge edge rushers, and it doesn't make too much sense to utilize them that much. If you're going to keep someone in to try to block, use like a Miles Kitsom or like a Ethan Davis. But either way, though, right? Just like looking at the pressure rates given up, huge problem with our tackles. I think that we'll take a big step forward because Lance Hurd, he was out of shape. He was injured pretty much all of last year. He's back in shape. I think he lost like 20 or 30 pounds. And he's healthier, so he should be perfectly fine. He was the number one ranked offensive lineman coming out of his class. And then we have David Sanders, who, yes, he's a freshman, but man, he looked so good in that orange and white game, Pete. And now he's up to about 305. They're saying that, he might try to get up to about 310, cut back down once fall camp starts to about, I guess 305, maybe 300. But in that orange and white game, he was probably like 280, 290. And he's blocking, some big, strong dudes, like some real SEC, ends and tackles and stuff. So I think that he's going to hold up very, very well. But just looking at those two spots there, Pete, that's where I think I have the most confidence that with this team moving forward. But what do you think, just looking at some of these pressure rates, does anything stand out to you?
Well, I mean, John Campbell, man, I mean, had a rough year last year, but like we said before, I mean, we cannot give him enough flowers or whatever, give him enough praise for making that sacrifice, jumping from the left side to the right side. I mean, greatly probably reduced his draft stock and his ability to play next level. I mean, such a selfless thing to do for him to go do that. I mean, he did the best he could, but he wasn't very good for us last year playing right tackle. Now, I look at that position in particular. You look at Lance Hurd, you look at David Sanders. I mean, that's two number one tackles right there, right? You talk about Lance Hurd number one in whatever year that was, 2023, whatever. David Sanders is number one tackle coming out 2024 class, 2025 class, whatever it was. So um, we have two number one five-star tackles, bookend tackles. Lance Hurd lost some weight, have more athletic, better shape, all that stuff, understands the playbook and all that. I think that he's due for a big year. We saw him at LSU, we saw flashes of it, right? And then, last year he did some good things too, but just wasn't in shape and got, kind of got banged up early. I think him and David Sanders can be really, really good bookend guys for us, athletic, big, strong, physical, do things in the run game. So I'm excited about that position group in particular as well.
All right, so coming back to this, we can look and see what the guards gave up last year. And number one, Dane Davis, his pressure rate was at 5.1%. Right now, Tennessee's got a guy named Jesse Perry who could be like a Dane Davis, but I think he's better. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I've heard people saying that he looks really freaking good, and I mean, he has looked good. Just with his film from last year, every time that he got opportunities, he to me was the best looking freshman offensive lineman. Period. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that he's going to be fine as like a swing tackle or swing guard or like whatever backup center. And then we also have with our guards, so Jackson Lampley, he was at 4.7. Larry Johnson, he was at 3.7. Spraggs, he was at 3.3. So y'all can see that really like the main people giving up pressure was from our tackles. If Tennessee, takes a step forward with those tackles, like we both think is going to happen, then the offensive line should be fine. But I also think, P, that we're going to end up taking a step forward with our guards just because looking at those guys, man, I think that Wendell Moy is incredible. Okay, really freaking good. And then if it's Sam Pendleton who starts at right guard, you love what you see there. We just talked about Jesse Perry. We also have Sham Umarov. There's a lot of very good players, that could come in, slide in, play in different spots. So I think this offensive line is just the talent level compared to last season is so much better. Like these guys have been waiting and like you said, P, man, thank you to those veterans. Thank you. Shouts out to them because they stuck around, fifth, sixth year, seventh year guys sometimes stuck around, helped us out. But now we've got some very talented young players that have just been waiting that I feel like will take us to that next level where the quarterbacks have a lot more time to be able to operate. All right, like let's just face it. It's tough for any quarterback to operate without that time. So I think that we'll be fine there. But then also with that scheme change, getting some shorter, quicker routes, all of that's going to come full circle. So, like you said, P, I could definitely see Tennessee's passing numbers right going up. But let me go back and let's talk about exactly where we think Tennessee's going to end up at with our pass numbers and with our sack numbers. All right, so looking at this, P, right, ranked 77th in passing. Where do you think Tennessee's going to end up at next year?
Oh man, I don't know. It's tough to put a number on it, but I'll say, I mean,
Do
we
you
were
think it's top
221.
20?
I mean, that's the thing. I have no idea what top 20 is. You know what I mean? Um, I
Mhm.
would say probably. So I think we'll be around like 275 a game. So wherever
Okay.
that puts you. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah, top 20.
Yeah, you know what? I had all those stats up earlier, so I could tell you. And actually, we might have to come back to that. I think that would probably put us top 10. You know what I mean? Like that would
Mhm.
put us. I think it would. I think that would put us pretty high. It
Mhm.
should definitely be good enough for like top 20. All right. So what about sacks?
So I mean, that's kind of a two-part question because obviously we think the O-line is more talented, but then we also are going to be less mobile at quarterback. So Nico ran out of some sacks sometimes too. He also ran into a couple sacks as well. So it's kind of a maybe a push there. But I think that number definitely goes down. I'd say we were 87 last year. I mean, heck, we gave up 30 sacks. I mean, I think that number's got to be. I mean, I love that number in the single digits. You know what I mean? I love to be like a top five type team there. So I'm gonna go ahead and say we're gonna be a freaking single digit sack ball club this year. I'm gonna say
Wow,
9 sacks. We give up 9 sacks.
9 sacks all year.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Wow. So dang man. So, ooh, boy, that would be
Elite.
elite. All right.
Yeah.
So just going back to those passing numbers, right? If Tennessee was to get or last season, top 20 would have been 270, about 271 yards per game. All right. So that
Okay.
was Memphis. They were at number 20. If you're talking about 275, that would get us up to about 17. If you want to be top 10, that's at about 292. Again, that's just based off of last season. And the number one passing team was actually Syracuse. They had 370 passing yards per game last year. Now, with yeah, I know that's crazy, right? But
Mhm.
I'm curious, will they look the same way this year? I don't think
Nah.
that they will. But just as far as like sacks given up, let me try to find these if I
Yeah. And
can. Yeah,
and
go ahead.
maybe nine's a little too ambitious. I mean, but I'm gonna say we're gonna cut that number in half, like 15. Like it's because we might have a game, against somebody. Maybe we get up like 3 or 4 sacks on one game. Okay, boom. But
Mhm.
I'm gonna say that number's 15 or less.
Yeah. So for sacks last year, nine was Georgia Tech. They were ranked third. All right. So they were giving up about zero point 0.7 sacks per game. If you want to be top 10, you only give up about 1 sack per game. So that's, about 13 sacks total. If you want to be top 20, that would be 15 sacks total and about 1.1 sack per game. All right. So that's how all that looks. But yeah, I could see Tennessee definitely being top 20 with sacks given up because, like you said, P, I mean, we're not going to be as mobile. And people, I know nobody wants to talk about Nico, but man, look, Nico, he saved us from some sacks last season for sure. All right, now let's go on. Let's talk about Tennessee's rushing offense. Y'all can see that we were top 10 there, ranked number 9, 220, about 226 yards per game. So I mean, look, man, our rushing offense does great all the time. But what are you thinking here, P? Do you think that Tennessee's going to do better than that, or do you think that we're going to do worse?
Um, I mean, I feel like we were a pretty heavy run team last year, so it's kind of tough. I think the carries it may be about the same. So I don't know what the split was. You may know. I don't know if it was like a 60-40 splits, 55-45 split run pass. Um, but I know we ran the ball a lot. And I
Mhm.
think we'll do the same this year. So I don't know. I'm gonna say we take a slight step back. So what we're number 9. I'll say we'll probably be just outside the top 10, but I think we'll be close to where we were last year.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that Tennessee's probably going to run the football less because, like you said, it was 60-40 last year. Like we ran the football 580 something times, which is just, I think that's way too many times. You can see that Dylan Sampson, he got 258 carries. That is a lot. Okay. So that's part of the reason he had so many yards is because he got the football so often. Like his numbers look good because he ran the football way more than any single running back has done it with Coach Heupel since he's been here. All right, so I'll also go back and show you how the previous seasons look, just to give you a strong point of reference for it. So we can look at 2023, and y'all can see how those carries got split up. Actually, let's stick here because look, 137 yard or 137 carries for Jalen Wright. Dylan Sampson had 106 carries. Dylan was small with 95 carries. So they're all over 90 carries in 2023. But Milton, he was the fourth guy and he had 78 carries. So if you come back and shoot, let's take a look at 2022, right? Let's take a look at that as well. Also, y'all can look and see the total passes to the total runs. It's a lot more even. Actually, this one, I don't know exactly what that split is, P, but it's probably closer to like I think Tennessee wants to be at about 45-55. This is closer to that split. But
Mhm.
you can still see, right, that the running backs, their carries are split up better. It's not over 200 carries. That's crazy. So we didn't really have that third back because Dylan Sampson, he was a freshman this year. So Hendon Hooker had to carry it a lot. I think that 2025 is going to look a lot more similar to what 2023 looked like, where the quarterback's not going to run it that much. Okay, so you can see what we did going back to last season. Again, Dylan Sampson, 258 carries, and then Nico was at 108. So Nico was the second leading ball carrier for us. And then it was Bishop at 74. Then it was Peyton Lewis. So yeah, like we've got to rotate at least 3 running backs. I think I mean, I don't know why we didn't do it too much last season. Maybe we just didn't trust those guys. I have no idea. But now we've got, I feel like 5 guys that I personally trust. How does the staff feel is a whole different story. But
Mhm.
I think that we'll see a much better split, and we're always going to be able to run the football well. Like the running backs average 5 yards per carry. That's built into our system, and Tennessee's going
Mhm.
to add some different wrinkles to what we like to do. Also, so I think that we're going to be fine. Actually, let me go ahead and pull up this running back room too, and we can take a look at that real quick. So right here, right? Who do you see being the starter? And also, Bishop is up to like 215 pounds now. But
Yeah.
who do you see getting the most carries here?
He looked good. I If you would have asked me, maybe like a month or two ago, I probably said Peyton Lewis, but now I'm thinking it's going to be Bishop. I think he really is going to be the guy, and he'll be number one. And Peyton Lewis, I think him and Peyton Lewis will be a good 1-2 punch. I think Star will kind of be that third guy to get some burn. Then maybe we'll see if the freshman can get an opportunity too. But I think it's going to be mainly Deshaun and Peyton. But Deshaun will be the first guy out there. I would assume. And he's due for a big year, man. I mean, he showed some flashes last year, and good balance, good vision, quick with his cuts and things like that. So I think he'll be a really good back for us. And it was continued to kind of have like since Heupel's been here, we've always had a back that can go out there and get yards. And I think this year will be no different with this running back room.
Yeah. So I think that we'll probably end up we should honestly be top 5, I think, with yards per game. Okay, like that's what I'm seeing. I think
Okay.
the Tennessee could get up to something close to that ballpark. All right. Next thing that I want to talk about is Tennessee's wide receiver room. So right here, boom. Um, what are you thinking here? Just because we talked some about Tennessee's passing game. Obviously, a big part of that is what do the wide receivers look like. I've talked about going back to 2021, 2022, watching more film. Dude, our wide receivers versus what we saw last season in versus 2021 and 2022, it is night and day. Like there were playmakers in last year. We didn't have anybody who was doing that. It was
Mhm.
rare that they make anything happen after the catch. They're not making people miss. If they don't catch the football with a whole lot of like open field, they're not really doing much. Do you see something different happening with this group?
Well, I think this is a much more dynamic room. I think, you think about yards after catch. I think this room has more guys with that ability. Um, Now, the question is going to be, you know, how consistent are the hands, right? Like, Mike. I mean, we feel like it's going to be pretty consistent. Braylon, Chris, how consistent are these guys going to be with making tough catches or even open, like wide open catches? Like, if they can consistently catch the open ones and make some tough catches too, yeah, I mean, I think this has a chance to be a really, really good unit because for what you just said, they can take a quick screen or they can take a slant. A guy freaking rolls off his back, and then this guy breaks it and goes 60 yards. Like I think we have more of that type of pop with Mike and Braylon as well as Boo. And of course the freshmen. I mean, the freshmen too. I mean, Ra Ra and Travis. I mean, those guys. I
Yeah,
mean, those guys
Dotson
are
too.
unbelievable. Yeah, Dotson's Snowden. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's underrated. I mean, he's unbelievable.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a really good room, man. We'll just see how Chris and Mike really step up as the leaders in that group. But I feel really confident about this group being really explosive for us this year.
Yeah, so Mike and Chris actually had the most drops on our team last year. So Chris Brazzell, he had the most. I want to say it was something crazy. It was a high number,
Mhm.
but Mike Matthews didn't get that many snaps, but he literally had the second most drops. So
Mm.
I think that that's a really good point. We got to make sure that his hands are better. And to me, they looked good throughout spring practice.
And
But
I'll
this,
say this too. I think both those guys are way better than that. We saw
oh
Brazzell, Tulane's film, and Mike Matthews. So if they can play up to who they are, I mean, we could be unbelievable.
yeah, and so this is how Tennessee's route tree looked last year. Y'all can see that about 70, what was it, 76%, I think 73 or 76% or something like that of our routes was vertical stuff or it was wide receiver quick screens. This is what I've been talking about, right? Like, this is why Tennessee needed to add some different things, more drags, more slants, more outs. Why don't we run more like corners? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not a whole lot of smash concepts, but
Mhm.
we saw it more in 2022. Like, we would run that almost all the time. That was like a, like red area special for us. Why do we stop doing some of this stuff? I have no idea. And someone's going to come up here and say it's because of the quarterback's game process. If I hear that one more time, dog, it's not because the quarterbacks can't process. You know what I mean? Like that's not even that has nothing to really even do with processing. That's more about arm talent. And we had a quarterback last season that had the best arm talent. I don't care what nobody says. Out of any quarterback that's been up there, Joe Milton, very similar, right? He had a very strong arm, but I mean, dude, there's no reason that we can't do more. And the only route that really even asks for that I'm talking about that we haven't, gone back to is that corner route that really needs you to have a great arm. But these other ones, drags and slants, you start throwing that P when you like, 9 years
Mhm.
old, 10 years old. Like those are the
Yeah.
routes that you start throwing. So there's just no reason. But I do think that with this scheme change, getting some tighter splits, running some more pistol, being able to do some like real boot stuff. I think that we'll see some more of those types of routes, some deep crossing patterns. You know what I mean? So we've added coaches to our staff that's their specialty, and I think that the wide receivers are going to benefit from it. And I also think that the offense, like the passing offense takes big steps forward. But is there anything here that kind of jumps out to you that I didn't already touch on, Pete?
I mean, I think you pretty much hit it, man. I mean, there's a whole bunch of vertical straight line routes. I mean, that was so frustrating to watch last year. So, we've seen glimpses of it in the spring that they're doing a little more crossing stuff and slants and mixing up a little bit. I just hope that when we get into the season that it's not the same old vertical. Hey, I'm either going to run straight or I'm going to stop or I'm going to run a dig. Like give me a little more variety, coach, so I can actually have a chance to get open and that the DB doesn't have to sit on just one or two routes you actually have a whole route tree I can go through, and it's going to be better for our player development. Our guys getting a chance to go to the league. Recruits are going to like to see that type of stuff better. So it's just better all
100.
around if we open this thing up. So hopefully we'll see that this year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Tristan Keys, he keeps on talking about he wants to go to a program that's going to help him get ready for the NFL. Everyone's saying that. Now that Tennessee's adding some real like NFL routes or more of them, that's going to help him out. Like, and then I also think that if he waits, because it sounds like he might not really flip until at some point, maybe in the season. Once he
Mhm,
sees how Tennessee's offense looks and it's back to that high flying stuff, I think not just him, but Tennessee might flip some other players that we really wanted, just because
mhm,
people want to come ball out. Like people want to have fun. And it's not fun whenever the offense doesn't work because everyone's sitting on all the vertical stuff. But
right.
I think that we're going to be able to do some much better things in 2025. Now, let's talk about this center room real quick. All right. So is William Satterwhite going to start, P, or do you think it's going to be Sam Pendleton?
I think it's gonna be Pendleton. If I had to bet money, I would bet the over on Pendleton being the guy.
Yeah.
I just think he has more experience. And this I don't know, just kind of get the feeling that maybe Satterwhite's not quite doing as well as they like him to do. And maybe they trust Pendleton more. Now we could be wrong on that. I'd love to see it be Satterwhite because I think he has a lot of talent and ability. But I just got
Mhm.
a feeling it's gonna be Pendleton, and then they'll move Perry or Umarov.
Sham.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Shan to guard to right guard. That's what I think it'll be.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. It didn't sound great about what Sat did coming out of spring, but he's got fall camp. He had or he still has all the rest of summer, but I don't know exactly how he's been looking. I'll see if I can get some updates on it. But I think that the best thing for this team would be if William Satterwhite actually wins that job. If they say, man, he sure is good, like he's doing great. I think that
Mhm.
that's best case because now you have even more depth. I'm not like if Sam gets to start there, that's fine too because he's played more football. Center's a huge part of what this offense does. I think that they make all of the checks and calls for the offensive line. So you need to know what you're looking at. But either way, this one's big. That's something that people aren't too much talking about it, but that's a major factor in how Tennessee's offense is going to look moving forward. All right, and so next, P, let me skip through some of these. I don't think that we need to talk about guards. Let's talk about Tennessee's tight ends, and we're gonna finish it up here. What are you thinking with this room? Obviously, you got guys like Kit, who I think he had 22 catches for like 400 yards last season with 4 touchdowns, and then you have Ethan Davis, who I think he had like 12 catches for maybe 100 yards. Actually, I could probably pull that up and tell you exactly what it looked like. Let me see if I can get that. All right, so boom. All right, let me come on down and let's take a look at the receiving numbers. Make sure that I was on point with that. So yeah, so Kid he had 22 catches for 300 yards, not 400 yards, and Ethan Davis he had 13 catches for 100 yards with 2 touchdowns. Who do you think is going to be the leading wide receiver out of that tight end room? I don't think we talked about our wideouts, but who do you think is the leader there too?
So talking tight ends, I'd probably say I don't know how long Kitzman's out for, but I mean, assuming that he doesn't miss more than like 2 games or something, I mean, I'll go Kitzman. But if he's out for an extended period of time, probably the safe thing would be to say Ethan Davis. But you know, I would say this. I think week one starting, I got Ethan Davis, and I think it's going to be Jack. I think
Yeah.
I think he's going to be starting over Cole Harrison. I just don't know if they were really wild by Cole Harrison in spring, so we'll see. But I mean, we said this about Jack. He looks like he's ready. Like he looks, like, and Brame does too. I just think Jack's going to be a little bit more physical and a little bit more ready to do the run type stuff. So he'll probably see the field earlier.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would have those two as my starters. But then receivers, leading receiver. Um, I'm gonna get a little crazy here. I'm gonna say Braylon Staley is our leading receiver.
Okay. All right, cool. So number one, Brame is up to 240 pounds now. So he came up on camp, I think, at like 215 or something, but he is up to 240.
I
So
bet he
we
looks huge because
yeah,
he
dude.
he always looked big. At 220, he looked big.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that tight end room is loaded. I think that Ethan Davis will have the most yards. I think he's going to have a huge year. That's the only question that I even have about that whole room is will Ethan Davis be physical? Because I think to start the season off, Tennessee runs a whole lot of 12 personnel, and Ethan's going to have to, which I feel like he's gotten better. But if he is physical, he should be one of the top tight ends taken next year because he's got that type of skill set. Does that
Mhm.
light fully flick on for him? If it does, then I think that he'll have. I don't know if it's going to be as many catches or yards as what Kid had last season, because I think that our wide receivers, like I think Tennessee uses them a lot more this year, which is might be crazy to say because we've got more tight ends, like there's more depth at tight end, but I think that just with those scheme and system changes, it's going to be easier for the wide receivers to get their catches. But yeah, I've got Ethan Davis leading, and as far as the wide receivers go, man, listen, I love all those guys. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going with Brazel. Second year in this system, 6'5", over 200 pounds. He's a 4'4", 40 guy, high points football as well. And with this scheme change, three-step drop, throw it up. That's what we saw at the previous school that Chris was at. That's all that they did. He's a high point specialist. Let him high point footballs. I think that he's going to be a major problem, but it doesn't mean that I don't think that Mike Matthews is going to ball, or Braylon Staley, or Travis Smith, or Ra. I think all those guys will have some really big plays and some really big
Mhm.
moments. So I'm high on that wide receiver room.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the numbers are going to be a lot more similar to maybe like 2022 year in terms of like we
mhm.
had multiple guys that were like up there, over 600 yards. Like I think we'll have several guys that are flirting with 1,000 yards. Like two or three guys that are in that close to 1,000 yard range. So
Mhm.
I think it'll be a lot of receivers. And matter of fact, I'll go as far as say we'll probably have three receivers that have more yards than our leading receiver last year, which is like
Yeah,
six
and
660. We'll have like three guys over that this year.
yeah, I think so too. Excuse me. I just think that everything is coming together perfectly. You know what I mean? We didn't spend too much time talking about quarterback P, but we've talked about it so many times. Can we
Yeah.
take care of the football well? All right. So actually, I had to circle back because I did actually mean to talk about this, and it is pretty big. But I think that Joey Aguilar, he could have some interception issues, just because that's what he did last year. It's very hard to get quarterbacks out of that. Sometimes you're just a gunslinger and you just throw it up for grabs, and we're going to get some good plays out of it, but we're also going to get some interceptions. So I talked about this in the podcast yesterday, that man, the defense will have to bail us out some. But I think that Joey, so Nico threw 5 picks last season. I could see Joey doubling that. I think he goes anywhere from like 8 to 10 picks. Can he minimize it in the most critical situations? You know what I mean? Can he take care of the football versus our biggest rivalries? Once we go down to the swamp, that's a huge place. Do not turn the football over. Don't get rattled. And I think the Tennessee will be in a good spot to be able to win those games. But also, Pete, right? Because our system typically has been so much vertical stuff, so many long passes. But now that it's going to be some shorter passes, do you think maybe he could get out of the interceptions even more than what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I was actually almost thinking the opposite. I was
Mm,
thinking maybe not necessarily the vertical stuff, but how we typically spread the field and everything. It gives the quarterback a clear picture. I think that's why
mhm.
you see less picks. But I think now we're thinking about maybe they'll condense some splits and actually, cross the field more on some of these routes. And you're kind of getting in harm's way a little more with that, in my opinion. But I do think guys will be open, but you are throwing it across the middle more. Like you're having to make throws on some real routes. So I don't know. I don't know. I have the same kind of prediction as you. I think he'll be around 10 or less.
Mhm.
I'd like to see him stay single digits, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, Hypo, he doesn't have guys that throw a lot of picks. I mean, he's never really had that. I mean, I don't think Joey Aguilar's gonna come in here and break that trend. So, you know, I think the system will work in his favor and he'll keep it under control.
Yeah, and then too, just last thing here is that part of the reason I think that Tennessee scheme change is going to help is because what teams have done with their defenses is they've played very simple stuff. So
Mm.
typically, college defenses, it's kind of complicated. It's not really complicated, but there's a lot of moving pieces to it. So I'll call that playing straight up defense. Teams, if teams play that way versus Tennessee's old style, where we run that tempo and everything's vertical, it's harder for them to stop it because we're going so fast. It's simple for us, but they're playing complicated. So I think that's how we got so many people open. But now, what I think, bringing in those tighter splits and running some different patterns, it makes the defense have to get out of that simple defense that was able to slow down Tennessee's offense. They got to go back to the straight up defense. And then once they go there, then Tennessee can go back to what we like to do, where, hey, we're going to speed it up and spread it out and throw people off. So I just think that we can dictate terms now because we have counters to different things. Whereas before we didn't really have that. So that's why I think that yes, some of those passes might be more difficult, but I think that it's going to work out well where we have people running wide open. So those are
Yeah.
my thoughts on it. But P, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, man, I'm just excited for the season. It's been a long off season. We're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. It's almost time for fall camp, so let's just keep on pushing through, man.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Listen, as always, thank y'all for watching. Please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.